get started. Thank you for everyone that's made it here today. I just had a couple things to announce. The one being, so this one being RVTEC chair-elect nominations. Please, anyone that's, if you're potentially interested, I think it's a great way to engage with the entire community with the RVTEC. Eventually, the RVTEC chair sits on UNOLS Council and participates in that way. I think it's a good insight into how the community works. You can find ways to contribute to other committees, and at the UNOLS meetings. If you have any questions, if you're considering it but you're not sure, please feel free to reach out to me directly. If you have any questions, if there's anything that might be able to answer for you about chair-elect or chair positions.
Chair-elect takes the minutes.
Yep.
Except for when we're Zooming.
Right. Or if we have Bridget here. So, and it's not as hard as it used to be because we're going to record all these meetings anyway. So don't be daunted by the minutes. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. The minutes are not a reason to not to consider this for sure. I think with that, I'll turn over to Alice for some announcements.
Right. Thanks, Lee. And thanks to everybody for coming today. It's great to see everybody. We've got one person who's coming soon, but we'll start anyway. So before we started today, I wanted to give a shout out, let's say, to 3 old timers from our community that are retiring, and we want to give them a good send off. So I'm super excited to see Bill Fanning is here, even though the Nor'easter is happening. I know Eric Grubel was trying to get in, but his power's out and he's got 1 bar of service. Thanks to Lynn, who made it to the ship and is using the ship's internet and power to connect to us today. So thanks, Lynn. So first I want to share my screen. Let's do that. Oh my gosh, my mouse is everywhere. Here we go. Share. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so the first person we want to commemorate or congratulate, I'm not sure what the right words are, is Phil White. So some folks might not know Phil, but Phil is with the NOAA fleet, and he actually got his start as a marine science tech in the Coast Guard way back in the 80s. And then he decided to go back to school, and he started with NOAA in 1991. Between 1999 and 90 and present, he serves as a permanent tech on 5 different ships. And then he moved off because and he was kind of the survey tech expert, and he served as relief, and then he also as a trainer. And since 2011, NOAA finally figured out just how good he is, and so they interspersed kind of shore time and ship time. And his shore-based duties he worked specifically to support shipboard technician training and data management initiatives. So I first met Phil early in my start with UNOLS, and Phil was super interested in learning more about UNOLS and RVTEC and how NOAA and RVTEC could work together. And so as part of his training initiatives, he worked hard to get NOAA Tech's funding so that they could participate in RVTEC. And then he also started a NOAA training program that happened annually, and he would invite RVTEC members to that, which was great. So he then started to focus on the data, and he pushed and pushed for NOAA to improve their data management practices. So I will miss Phil's smiling face and also his continual perseverance. Perseverance is a great word for Phil. Anyone who has worked at NOAA knows that there's a lot of red tape, and Phil continually put his head down and sharpened his scissors and continued to cut. And so his last triumph, you guys might have seen it advertised, but is the data acquisition manager. You got to love that acronym, right? And he created this position. He convinced NOAA to create this position, and it'll be a great step forward for NOAA vessel data management. So thank you, Phil, for your 30 years of service to NOAA and the oceanographic community. We hope you enjoy your retirement. So we don't have, I have some words from a couple folks at NOAA captains that Phil has sailed with or worked with that I'd like to share with everyone. So this is first from Captain Dan Simon. And he says, I never sailed with Phil. However, our paths and our passions crossed perpetually through much of my career. Phil has been a steadfast advocate of data management, data collection techniques, and of the mariner as a whole. He has been an advocate while leading by example, never asking or even expecting that anyone do something that he wouldn't. Over the past couple of years, I've been fortunate to work directly with Phil in pursuit of making NOAA's marine operations better for anyone involved in the NOAA ships. He has been completely trusted and leaned on for a variety of topics, always providing sage wisdom that all around him have come up to rely on. Phil will be truly missed in the fleet. I will certainly miss him and look forward to our paths crossing again, as I expect they will through the years ahead. So the next quick comment is from Captain David Shoup, also of NOAA, and he says, I feel like I've worked with Phil my entire career, yet I look back and it isn't the time sailing that I remember. In fact, I only recall sailing with him once. Phil, though, is one of those people that everyone knows. He is a leader in the fleet, someone who knows people, someone who people listen to when he talks. He is quiet, yet he carries the room. And as of late, a Google Meet. Always looking to make things better. He has done just that for NOAA. I would like to say thank you to Phil for all of that he has done to make the fleet a better place. So thank you, Phil. Okay, I'm gonna do switch.
Thanks. Where'd you get all those pictures?
There's a lot on the internet, Phil. There's Phil. And actually, oh, there's Bill too. Great. Because Bill, you are our next honoree. Bill, wave your hand there. He's refusing to acknowledge. So Bill Fanning is our next honoree. Let me share my screen here. There's Bill. I think it's the, that is an awesome picture right there. That's from a while ago. So Bill started with the SEA program when he sailed with the Westward, and then as a student, and then he became a mate. And soon after that, he moved over to URI in 1986. So I first met Bill at my first RVTEC meeting, which was back in 2010 in Bermuda, actually. And so Jim Hollick was pretty new to NSF. And he presented his idea about the tech pool. And then I said a few words about, you know, the thoughts of how it would work and how it would go together. Well, we finished the presentation and whoo, did we get some critical feedback from Bill and our next honoree. And I must say that I was a bit taken aback after that. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten into? And I will say my pride was hurt a little bit and I was a little miffed. But then I kind of came to my senses and I realized that this is a guy who has been around for a while. And that was back in 2010. He's been around for a while and he's seen a lot. And his comments, they come from experience and also come from his heart. So I needed to get over it and listen. So I subsequently worked with Bill on several other occasions with the cruise planner, on panels, a tech pool mate, and a number of other things. And he was never shy about asking really the tough questions, right? And giving his perspectives on things. And so if I needed honest input, I knew I could call up Bill and he would take the time to listen to me and explain things if necessary. And he made time for me. So along with working on the Endeavor with the URI, Bill was the original developer of the online cruise planning app. He had a great vision there of getting everything together, which has now morphed into the UNO's cruise planning tool. He has served tirelessly on the RCRV Science Oversight Committee also. So, and also been a huge member of the RVTEC community, always giving input when he can. So Bill, we are very sad to see you go, but this is a very well-deserved retirement and we wish you all the best. Thank you for your 35 years of service to the fleet. Pretty incredible. So we had, I think, Lynn, are you still here?
She's there.
Can you speak? Bill, Lynn is on the ship. We know you guys are having quite a storm right now.
And I am not.
You are not. Where are you?
I'm at home
Oh,
where
you
I
don't see a
belong.
storm? What was that?
I'm at home where I belong.
Oh, good. Is there a storm going on there?
It's mostly gone by.
Okay, great. Well, Lynn was out of power, and so she went to the ship to try to get there. She's not muted, but I don't hear her.
She's working across two different laptops and her connection keeps locking up. So she said that she could hear some of what you said, but she can't see it. So
Oh, bummer.
We may
Okay,
not be
well,
able
Eric Grubel is also without power. He was going to be here today, but he was also without power, and he has 1 bar of cell signal. So he sent me these words, Bill, to you, and he wishes he could be here. He said, Eric says, I was supposed to do it in Eric's voice, but it's kind of gruff maybe. I'm not sure how to do Eric's voice, so just pretend. Bill was my first civilian supervisor after a career move to ocean sciences, having spent many, many years in the Navy, operating, maintaining, and most importantly, improving the scientific systems on a research vessel is no small task, and I had to learn many of these systems from scratch. I consider myself Bill's apprentice in many ways, since we share similar interests and technical backgrounds. His solid principles and clever tricks are now part of my principles. His hard work will live on in that regard. There aren't many people left in this field who have been techs on research vessels since before a lot of the, quote, tech was invented or conceived. No GPS, can you imagine? Bill's career is a considerable part of the history of this profession, the URI Endeavor, or the RV Endeavor and the URI GSO, fair winds and following seas, from Eric. So if we get Lynn back on board, we will thank you, Bill, for everything. All right, I'm going to do one more.
I'd like to know, Alice.
ahead, Bill.
I'd like to know why the vast majority of those pictures have to do with wire winding. My God, what a way to remember a career.
There was another good one in there. Okay, let's.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Eric.
I appreciate you guys bearing with me. I hope you're appreciating these lovely pictures also.
Alice, Lynn sent me some words. She said, please read this if you can. Bill's inspiring ways, dedication, and hard work meant so much over the years. May your future endeavors be fulfilling, and may you enjoy many joyous adventures in retirement.
Yay. So.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, we have one more honoree. I appreciate you sticking with us. Share. Okay, this is a pretty awesome picture because this is the first RVTEC meeting. This is Mark right here, Mark Willis from OSU. That was the first RVTEC meeting back in 1992 is what I believe. So Mark started at OSU back in 1979. So from the story I heard is that the dean of the college, they had the Wacoma at the time, the RV Wacoma, which is now retired, but it is the sister ship of the Oceanus and the Endeavor. So the Wacoma was at OSU and the scientists were using the ship and they had this big list of demands or requests, or maybe I should say, and comments. And the dean said, oh, I don't know what to do. And somehow he got a hold of Mark and he said, Mark, here's your list of things to do. Go forth and make good. And the rest is history because he's been there ever since. So I also met Mark back at that fateful 2010 RVTEC meeting in Bermuda, and he, like Bill, had some pointed and critical questions about our ideas. And I will say it's a good thing that I wasn't wearing any hippie deodorant that day because I was sweating. So I left the meeting, like, what am I doing? And slowly, though, I started interacting with Mark more and realized, like Bill, he was someone with a lot of experience who really cared about doing it right? I could trust honest feedback on all things technical. And so he was patient again and listened to what my questions and helped me understand UNOLS in the RVTEC community. And I will always remember his 3 T's of marine technicians: training, toys, and travel. So Mark had worked tirelessly on the Wacoma until he moved over to be the technical lead of the RV Sekuliak build. and then moved on to the RCRV project. So he has always been a big part of the RVTEC community. And in just talking to him last week, I was really struck by how high of regard he holds the RVTEC community and all of you technicians. He's still, after all these years, really passionate about it all. So it's pretty neat. So we thank you, Mark, for your 42 years of service to the fleet, and we say good luck in your retirement. And that is the best picture ever. But anyway, okay, so we've got two folks that would like to say a few words. I think, Toby, are you here? Maybe it's
No, he is here. I saw him.
It looks like he's having audio difficulties. He is not muted.
This is a day of difficulties. See, just even in retirement, you guys have to deal with technical difficulties.
Every Zoom
Well,
call.
maybe Daryl, you could speak first.
Okay, yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Daryl.
Okay. Yeah, I could spend hours talking about how Mark has influenced me personally and the tech community in general, but I just want to start by justly thanking Mark for everything he's done for me, for my career. He's always had my back. He's helped me immense times throughout my work in the technical field and beyond. I think as a plank holder as Mark being a plank holder for RVTEC, I think the community owes him a huge area of gratitude. He has supported this community and been a champion for it on the national level and on the international level. He's actually always had and supported us in many areas that none of us can even know about. And the last part is I got to thinking about how much data Mark has accumulated in his career and how much the science community has benefited from having a person like Mark making things happen, making sure that cast goes through, making sure that the electrons are flowing, making sure that everything is working to the level of his high level of making it happen. To me, just to think about how much science has benefited from having an individual working in the backgrounds like Mark has to support everything, that is amazing. And I'm going to miss you, Mark. And, I know you're not going away. You'll still be answering phone calls from me on a regular basis, I'm sure. But it's been a pleasure and always has been. Thank you. Toby, are you here?
Toby, you're muted again. There you go.
Okay, I switched microphones. Well, a long history with Mark, worked a long time with him. And when I first started working for Mark, he hired me and he was in town for my initial week to get the paperwork done. And then he was gone for 6 weeks in the Southern Ocean. And then we overlapped for a couple of weeks, and he was gone for 6 weeks in the Southern Ocean. And you guys know the score. It overlap and when we're in the office and all that sort of stuff. But during that initial time, I was figuring out my role on Wacoma, and I was getting settled into the office. Setting up computers, sorting through equipment, bringing in my beanbag. And then some months later, as I'm into my tenure, we're both in the office. And his office was adjoining mine, but the fax machine is in my office. And so one afternoon, he needs to send off a fax. And as he proceeds into my seemingly unoccupied office, going around the big table toward the fax machine, and he's distracted because he's sorting out the order of the fax and all that sort of stuff. He almost trips over me napping in said beanbag. And his startled exclamation can probably best be shared in public as, "What are you doing there?" My reply is, "What does it look like?" "Why do you think I have a beanbag in the office?" I always find it, good to have a strong offensive when somebody's about to trip over you. Anyway, Mark's follow-up was, "How was I supposed to know you were there?" And I said, "What time is it?" "About 1:30. That seems like a good indicator." he never made a fuss about my afternoon naps. That's just the sort of person Mark was. I could nap all the time as long as I got things done. And he was great to work for. We had a lot of fun standing out on deck, getting waves washed over us and all that sort of stuff. And all I can say is he's probably going to end up tripping over me again somewhere in his travels.
Great, thanks, Toby. Jim, did you want to say a few words?
Sure. I mean, I certainly don't have as much to say as the rest of you guys do, but you know, all these three people are certainly been around longer than I have. And I get my memories. I mean, when I was a new kid coming in as the new program manager, and I met Mark, I said, "Oh, who is that guy? Boy, he's got a fouler mouth than I do." But which, you know, I always, you know, believe it or not, I always have appreciated that some people will come to your face and tell you you're full of it. And maybe in those many words, but bluntness and coming from a place of experience are really valuable things. And I really appreciate that. All I can say is thanks for all your work. And I'm sure, you know, you're not going anywhere.
And we wish we could do this in person where we could all raise our glasses and give you a good cheer. But maybe you guys could come to next year's RVTEC meeting. You guys, you know, you're always welcome in the RVTEC community and come to our meetings. And, you know, Daryl was talking about the amount of data, right, that just Mark, but then you start, I added up all the careers of these three people and it's 107 years. Serving the oceanographic fleet. Just wow. Incredible. I mean, 107 years about times and amount of data, just amazing. So we thank you guys. Our hats are off to you. It's well-deserved retirement.
I'm not done.
And don't be strangers. So if you're ever in, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I said, I'm not done.
Oh,
I just talked about Mark. I got to talk about Bill. I'm telling you, Bill is one of my all-time favorite people in this job. Of all the years I've been here, one of my all-time favorites from the beginning. Anytime I needed something, Fanning, call Fanning. We're all about it. Did that. Oh, Bill, do it. He did so many things. He has the record for sitting on the most panels of anybody in my tenure there. I needed a quick review so we can get something out the door. Call Fanning. So I can't say enough. One of my all-time favorite people. I've watched him go through some severe challenges with the best attitude I've ever seen. I want to be half that man. So all I can say is, I love you, man. Take care, and we'll see you around. We'll see you every time we possibly can. And I would say things about Phil, but I don't know Phil very well. But congratulations, and have a wonderful life too. That's all for me.
I'm so sorry for cutting you off, Jim.
It's okay.
So thank you to you all. And we would raise our glasses to you guys. And please don't be strangers. And we'd still love to hear, you know, if you're bored and see some things come through at RVTEC listserv, you know, feel free to jump in and tell us all about it. So, and don't be a stranger to UNOLS in general. If you want to serve on a committee, we'd love you there too. So if you're ever in Southwest Colorado, be sure to look me up, or anywhere close to Southwest Colorado. Be sure to look me up. I'd love to go for a beer. So take care, you guys, and thanks so much for coming today.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Alice, for doing that. Wonderful. Should we get started with the rest of the session this morning? I think it's next is I don't have did not.
Rick Rupan.
Rick Rupan from University of Washington. I think we'd start with a presentation on ARGO floats and the UpGo BGC as well.
Yes, thank you all very much. I thank you very much for letting me join your meeting today. We've talked, you all talked about all of your careers, and I'm certain that most of you during your career have run into Argo floats, if not once, many, many times over the years. I know a lot of you have for sure, but Argo has now morphed into, Argo is continuing. And I'd like to say that, let's see, go here. Argo thanks you all very, very much for your help. As of today, there's currently 3,866 active floats out there working. I would say all deployed by marine techs, if not all over the world. So you can see that this program is still continuing to this day. And as Argo grows, so will now SOCOM. SOCOM is Southern Ocean Climate Carbon Ocean Monitoring. And now we also have GoBGC, which is Global Ocean Biogeochemical Floats. So we have a lot of floats out there now in the fleet, and you will be seeing them. An Argo float was created many years ago with just CTD sensors, conductivity, temperature, and depth. You see here on the left-hand side of your screen. But now the SOCOM and GoBGC floats have not only CTD, but they also have oxygen, pH, nitrate, optical backscatter, fluorescence, and irradiance on them. They are significantly taller, about a foot taller than the normal Argo float, and quite a bit heavier. So about 5 kilos heavier are these GoBGC floats. Now, the GoBGC float that you're seeing in front of you, many of you know that there are many different types of Argo floats. There are Argo floats made by Teledyne Web Research, made by Seabird Scientific, made by MRV and Scripps. So there are, and then all over the world, there are also different types. But for GoBGC right now, the major float type that we have is that yellow apex that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. And then you'll also see a larger Navis float. I don't have a picture of it, but Seabird also has a GoBGC float. And soon Scripps will also be testing out their GoBGC floats off of the Revell coming up here very soon. So right now, what you'll see, and many of you have seen, is this vehicle here on the right-hand side of your screen. It does take a little bit more to get it over the side, but it does have the same general principles of deployment, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Some key personnel that you'll run into with the SOCOM and GoBGC programs are the PIs, Ken Johnson at Embari, Lynn Talley and Sarah Perkey at Scripps, Steve Reiser and Allison Gray at UW, Susan Wiffles and Rune Nicholson at Hui, and Andrea Fassbender at PMEL. But probably the most important person whom you will all have dealings with will be Susan Becker. She is the shipboard science lead for our SOCOM and GoBGC programs. So when these floats are deployed, we are asking for data to be collected at the CTD stations. And if that does happen, Susan will be the one to coordinate all that. I know most of you, if not all of you, have worked with Susan in the past, present, and the future. She is everywhere and all-knowing and all-doing. So she handles most of that shipboard collection. So you will hear from her as well as myself. So I added this in here at Brandy's behest because, sometimes you all don't know where the floats come from and how they get to you. Argo floats worked a little bit different. Argo floats had each individual group would contact the marine ops managers and sometimes the chief scientists to see if we can participate in a cruise. For the SOCOM and Go BGC floats, Lynn Talley will be contacting the chief scientists if it's a scheduled cruise, or Lynn will contact also the marine ops managers if it's a transit or not. So she will be the sort of singular point of contact there as asking if we can participate on the cruise or not. Once she does get a yes or no from the marine ops manager or the chief scientist, then it will be up to the individual float groups to contact usually the ship techs to make arrangements for shipping. And we will ship those domestically and internationally as needed. I've just shipped off floats to the Polarstern in Germany, the Sarmiento de Gamboa. We're heading out to the Investigator as well as the Ravel, the Sally Ride, and the Thompson. So the floats are now getting out all over the place. And Susan Becker will contact the ship techs if onboard sampling is needed or done. For transits, I think Lynn is going to forego the onboard sampling because you're just not doing it. But for cruises, she definitely would like to get that data. As far as the SOCOM BGC flows techs that you will be encountering as you move forward, a lot of these names you're probably familiar with. John Gilson at Scripps, Ryan Anderson and Pell Robbins at Hui, Elizabeth Steffen at PMEL, and from UW you have myself, Dana Swift, Greg Russo, and Andrew Meyer. These are the people that you will be coordinating with most often, and these are also the people that you will be seeing at port. For these floats, they will always be checked out by a technician at port before they are loaded on board the ship. So, and it is at that time that we will go over deployment location, deployment procedures, and help you with storage and help with anything that you need while you are in port. When we are in port, we are there to help you all and try to make your lives a lot easier. We should not be doing anything to make it harder. If we are, just let us know and we will correct that immediately, because a lot of these are ships of opportunity for us. We are asking for your help and you have given it graciously, and we do appreciate that. And finally, as we go through here, I just want to go over and show you a deployment. We do have a deployment manual. Many of you know how to deploy these floats already, but this is just a standard Go BGC deployment. This is a video taken by Chanel Cadeau of PMEL of Jenny Mowat deploying a SOCOM float off of the back of the RV Palmer. Very short video. Most of you know this goes pretty quickly with a rope. It's very easy, but I'll just play that video here.
Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.
This is Jenny getting the float overboard. Here, as soon as it goes down pretty quick. And if it hits the side of the ship, it's okay. It's usually not a problem. It's pretty robust. We build them ourselves. And then once it's in the water, your job is done. You don't need to hang out. You don't need to watch it. That's when it's up to us, and we make sure that we did our job correctly. Your job is just to get it in the water. But however, I will tell you that you all have the most important job of getting it in the water. You are the last part of our team. And if you all don't get it right, then the float doesn't get put out there. So just ask any questions or any information you may need when we're there at port, or I can answer questions now as well. But that's all I have. Try to keep it short and sweet for you. Any questions? Yeah, Jim. You're muted, I believe.
There we go. I think it's great that that you're putting these out and that the people in the fleet are willing to do this. You're right. It's pretty trivial deployment. But I think you mentioned it. I just want to make sure that all the shipping and the packaging and the stuff, you handle all that stuff, right? It's not going to be the ship tech.
The individual float groups will handle the payment, the coordination, and and if possible, in times of pre-COVID, we would pack it up and stow it aboard ship as well. So that should all be handled by the individual labs. Even when we do go down to, say, ships like the Palmer, we've been trying to cut out Port Hueneme and ship directly down to down to.
It's possible. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Lee.
Yeah, I had a couple. I just want I've been keeping in close contact with Susan Becker on this as the kind of program expands. I mean, we're used to seeing the ARGO floats, as you say. My concerns have really been regarding increased scope of logistics when having the floats arrive at the ship and then receive ship techs taking additional responsibility to receive those, load them, stow them. In my experience, some science parties, when you have the chief scientists, they accept them, and then they have their science party contribute, to the deployment but some have just passed that right to the techs. It's been like, oh yes, you can deploy those and then pass all those responsibilities to the techs. Sometimes that's not a problem. Sometimes, if there's increased scope of this, that's is something that we've been thinking about, but we're very supportive of the program. It's just dealing with the increased scope is something that
I do looking at. Yeah, I do understand that, Lee, and I will tell you that as an engineer, I actually do prefer it when the ship techs do the deployment versus the science groups. Mm-hmm. And I tell you that just because I trust the ship techs more than I do some of the science groups who don't go to sea as much. So that is what happens. Your community and your groups are much better trained. Some of these science groups just go to sea with a grad student who never's been to sea before, and we put a float in their hand and we worry about it. We worry greatly about it. So you can blame me a little bit for that increased scope, because I have been a major advocate of making sure that it is the ship techs who do the physical deployment of the instrument. However, it should be the science groups who do. So one thing I didn't mention is the cleaning. There are cleaning supplies that we send for the fluorometer and the nitrate sensor. That should be done by the science team on board. So for a transit, we usually just, the ship techs aren't usually that busy. I don't know, but we will definitely check and be respectful of their time. But if there is science aboard who can do the cleaning of that, all we ask of the ship techs is that they do the physical deployment. Again, and it's just because we are so much more, like when we had the difference between having somebody like Melissa Miller or Brandy Murph, somebody we know do the deployments, we feel so much better about than when we have a grad student who's never been to sea do it. So if it does become an issue where it takes up too much time, please let me know and we will address that accordingly.
I know one issue that came was the number of boxes. If we're dealing with like 21 of these pretty large boxes, some ports that may be more prohibitive of getting rid of those than others. Another suggestion I had that came up, and I don't know how, as we see MFP roll out, I don't know if you've considered submitting SMEs for, coordination. So there's more early, the MFP system might allow, more early coordination. This is something this is just an idea at this point. It doesn't, because I think there's a selection for like piggyback programs. That way that, technicians and, all stakeholders might have more early awareness to cruises of interest. That might be a tool.
That's good, and I will actually bring that up to Lynn when I talk to her today, as she will be coordinating most of that. So you mentioned MSV. What was the other acronym you used?
Marine Facilities Planner, and then it's the shipboard. I'm blanking on it now. SME's it's the replacement for STR. So instead of a ship time request, it is someone will help me out. It's an SME.
Dear, what does that SME stand for, Alice?
Blanking.
May not be listening, but it's the request for ship time.
It's the request for ship time, but it doesn't have to be requesting ship time. I think there's a piggyback. It can be an ancillary program on a transit or on a cruise, and that might help identify things a little early on. But yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great, and that's one of the reasons that I'm here, so that we can try to integrate with your system better. I think maybe I will talk with Alice offline about that and see how we can coordinate that somewhat better, so that you all do know what's coming and from whom it's coming from.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for attending and engaging with the community today. It was very helpful.
No problem. Thank you. And if you all have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email address is rupan, my last name, @uw.edu.
Great.
Thank you, Rick. Hopefully we'll see you at future RVTECs now that you've got the RVTEC bug.
Yes, thank you.
And so next, sorry, I'm just pulling up stuff here.
So next up we have Lee, who's preparing his presentation.
I'm getting it set up. Yeah, I'm getting it set up now. Just all the window things.
He's having trouble keeping all the different hats on that he's wearing.
And
while he's doing that, Lee has been chair of RVTEC now for 3 years. This is his third RVTEC as chair and last as chair. And he's doing a bang up job of keeping us moving virtually and emceeing this. So I really appreciate it.
There we go. Can anybody see that?
Yes.
Excellent. I just had a couple slides here for potentially some discussion. We have a little bit of time here. I'll go through it pretty quick. Want to talk a little bit about MOCNESS, towed profiling instruments, a couple of PCO2, and a question that's come up at a couple RVTECs that I'll throw out there again is pingers. So I'll start with MOCNESS. Carl Mattson retired earlier this year. So we wish him well in retirement. He's still, we've been able to reach out to him with questions, and we greatly appreciate that. He's very supportive of the work that he's done here. We did deliver a strobe system to BIOS earlier this year. I would recommend continue to use the RVTEC MOCNESS mailing list. There's been a few, every once in a while there are issues and things brought up on that mailing list of MOCNESS users. We can certainly add to that list if there's folks not on it that would want to be. John Calderwood is providing maintenance and support at this time. I'm looking to expand our options here, looking at recruitments, but we did have a hiring freeze and stuff like that. So it's been a tough time for HR activities here at UCSD, but that is getting better and there's a backlog. And so working on that. Next I wanted to talk about towed profiling. This is a pinch point that we had, but I think that there's some NSF programs that need these type of capabilities, but they're infrequently used, and there's some questions about what's out there. So I talked to Jim a little bit, and I will be after RVTEC developing a survey to advise, how these systems are currently being used, how are they supported, what, some have different capabilities than other ones, so that NSF programs that are interested in these so we can kind of have a baseline from where we're at now. So I just wanted to let the community know about that. Next, PCO2 systems. This has come up at several meetings. Some of this has been on, just not had bandwidth for it with COVID activities and increased logistics. But I do know this. So the current LICOR this is for the general oceanics, specific to the general oceanics systems, that the LI 7000 systems are end of sale. The people have been snatching those up where they can buy them. You can't go to LICOR and buy them anymore. The new model is a 7815, and then there's a retrofit. General Oceanics is coming out with a retrofit kit. Available anytime now is what I hear. I think it's last I heard it was somewhere in the $1,000 to $3,000 range. I don't know. That's generally what I've heard. And then I guess there's potentially a new model coming out next year. I don't know much about that at this time, but I wanted to bring that up. The next item I had was 12 kilohertz pingers. Periodically this comes up on the RVTEC mailing list as a pinch point. I think a lot of cruises that speaking more for what I've seen, but some activities are being replaced by more USBL systems on ships, but every once in a while these are still the tool for the job. And is this a significant challenge for operators that we should consider, that the community, that we need to be looking for a better solution for? I seem as infrequently used, but then it comes up, then it's a problem. It's not a problem until the user really needs it. I think UH was asking about one on RVTEC last I recall. I don't know if there was anyone. So open to discussion on any of those topics with the little bit of time that we have left in this session. See if I can get over to my chat. Do not.
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
I just want to mention that these toad profilers are a bit confusing to me. There's all sorts of different flavors of them, and there's seesaw, there they are. I don't think we can support all of these things, nor do we want to. I think let's pick something or talk about it a little bit. For years, we've been trying to support a bunch of these things. I know, anyway, somebody else say something. I've talked about it with Lee a bit, and I'd like to see what other people think. I'd rather not support something and do it half-assed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's that's why I like Seesaw. We were still doing Seesaw, but not anymore. I'm looking at surplusing the system. I don't have a way to support it going forward. But there's some programs that need it, but then they're infrequently used. So using a system once every 2 to 4 years, how do you maintain the staff? How do you maintain, how do you maintain the equipment, and how is it, how's it efficient? Yep.
The same thing happened with Triaxis, right? Didn't Oregon State have one? And then they send the parts and pieces to, I don't know, I'm guessing Minnesota, is that?
I was saying, yeah, survey might help us with a baseline of where we're at today. Yeah.
I mean, is it worth having one of each in the fleet just so that we can support science with it? Because they are used, like you said, Lee, when they use them, they love them, right? The scientists, I mean. When
they use it, they say, yeah. So we had a cruise this year where it said, it was critical, and with there was not a way forward.
But with one in the fleet and that infrequent use, it brings up how do you maintain it? How do you retain staff who know how to use it?
I see Max's hand
Yeah,
up.
but I guess
Yeah,
I think
Max's
you're only
hand
worried
is up.
about that at one institution. Sorry, go ahead. One institution as opposed to multiple institutions trying to do that, right? So.
Max, do you have a question?
Yes, we had two of those items come up recently on regarding the MOCNESS systems. I have been asked by a PI what's going on if we have a replacement or if we ordered a best flow meter, and apparently these are either out of production or the person that's making them is unresponsive. I was just wondering if there, and I heard that Scripps has developed a new flow meter. I was just wondering what the what the status of that is.
Yeah, so for flow meters, so that was actually Ethan Roth at UAF had first tried out the Hydrobios, I think it is, the Hydrobios flow meter. He had tried those out, and we bought a few and have been trying those out. We had a couple issues that we had an issue with mounting, and we're trying to. We had a rough cruise where we lost some flow meters, I think, including the one that UH had loaned us. So that's why we're trying to get a BESS original out of BESS. But then we hear sporadically about that. But then we've been as UAF had done, going with the Hydrobios, and then we've been 3D printing some. We've 3D printed one that we're using that's got some problems. So, we're working to 3D print another, try to be able to make our own as well as an option. But it's inconsistent whether we can get something from BESS.
Yeah, so Eric Horgan from our end has gone completely silent. We just can't seem to raise him anymore. Yeah. Erica Goetz.
Who's the last person who talked to Eric Horgan?
We got an email we were hopeful like a month and a half, 2 months ago. We got an email. We thought we might actually get a flow meter.
There's been a
we actually heard from him this week.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we heard from him recently. He got back to John Calderwood. We're still hopeful that we'll have some BESS flow meters made.
Erica Goetz's concern about the newer developments were repeatability, just general consistency in the data.
I don't know if Ethan had any comments on their experience with the hydro, the newer ones that have been purchased.
Can you hear me, Lee?
Yeah, yes. Sure can.
Well, part of the reason why we went to the Hydrobios was whenever we did a deep tow, the BESS flow meter would basically cut out below a certain depth. So we weren't able to get volumes on deep tows. For the LTR program that we do, they use a multi-net, which is like the German version of a MOCNESS. And so that's sort of how we found out about these flow meters. And yeah, we're pretty happy with it so far. We've run the two side by side on a cruise, but there was, as you pointed out, there were some issues with the Hydrobios system. It works too well. It spins a lot faster than the BESS flow meter. So Carl had to do a firmware upgrade on that. So for anyone who upgrades to the Hydrobios, there's a latest firmware version that you have to have on that rabbit board inside the case that Carl developed.
Yep, and we're in the process of updating the UH. We got the UH PKI unit now, and we're working on that. So maybe it's too much detail for the whole group, but happy to talk with you offline, Max. But I wanted to bring a couple of these instrument systems up. And Max, was it UH that had asked about pingers on RVTEC? I think it was Scott, but do you know?
Yes, that
about
was
UH pinger usage.
Yeah, that was my second comment. So we'll have a dredging cruise coming up in the winter, and they're asking for pingers. Also, recently, as a backup for a Japanese charter, we got 2 pingers on loan from OSU, to the best of my knowledge, and we also restored 2 of the older Bentos 2216s, but the technician, you all know him, Steve Sartori, who restored us. He's retired, so that institutional knowledge is going away. And I'm just looking forward to just going with the next generations of instrumentation, even if they might not be, the gold standard of old. If I can't get the gold standard or get the gold standard to repair, then it's no use to us. So I think we just gotta make hay with the new stuff.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's time. Yeah, I think we're pretty much at the end of this session, but we can certainly continue with any conversations in the community. And I saw there was some comments and activity on those today, so that's great. I think we'll end it here for a break, right, Brandy?
Yes. So next session, the next two sessions today are going to be about SATCOMs. And we'll see you over in the other session. Again, if you want to continue conversations about instrumentation, there's an instrumentation tab in the community. There's an instrumentation chat topic in the community tab. There we go. Those are the right words. Yeah, I'll reply to you, Carmen. Sorry, he just sent me a direct message. I'll send you an email.